Alrighty, Algebra 2, Lecture 3.4 and 3.5, OASA 2A19. The student will simplify linear and quadratic expressions. This is stuff you've done before. It's just a little walk down memory lane, a little refresher. Basically, all we're going to be doing is combining like terms and using the distributive property and then combining like terms. So, pretty straightforward, simple stuff you did from Algebra 1, a little refresher. So here we go. We're going to simplify these expressions. That's what our instructions are. So I look at this, I'm going to combine like terms. The only terms I can combine, the only like terms, are 1n and positive 8n. So I'm going to add those together, 9n plus 6. And I'm done. That's like from pre-algebra days. Let me get my key here just in case I mess up. I've been making lots of mistakes this morning. Don't ask me why. Well, you can ask me why, because I'm old, losing it. Anyhow, here we go. I'm going to combine my like terms. I'll combine my variables first. That's 6v plus 8v. They're both positive. It'll be 14v. And 1 minus 7. That will be negative 6. We've combined our like terms. 14v minus 6. Yay! Also, always remember, they don't have to be written in this order. I have a tendency to write it in standard form, which is the highest power of the variable, and then write them in descending order. But you could just as easily call this 6 plus 9n, and that would be correct. And negative 6 plus 14v would be correct also. So don't think that it has to be written like that. It doesn't. We want to make sure that the 6 is still negative if we're going to change the order, and the 14 remains positive. Okay, it looks like we've got some parentheses to open here, so I'm going to distribute this positive 2. This will give me negative 3x plus 20 plus 8x. I use the distributive property of multiplication with respect to addition. I rewrote it, and now I'm going to combine my like terms. The only like terms I have are my x terms, and one's positive, one's negative, so I'm going to subtract. Keep the sign of the one with the greater absolute value, tag this on the end. That's how I personally would leave it, but if you saw it written like this on a multiple choice quiz or test or worksheet, this and this are just two different ways of saying the same thing. Okay, there we go. Hopefully that's correct. Let's see what we got there. Yay! Again, I'm going to, a real common mistake kids make here is they'll say 1 plus 7 is 8, yay, and then they'll distribute. Don't do that. We have to remember the order of operations. Please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. If we add before we multiply, we're not following the order of operations. Parentheses, exponents multiply. We've got to multiply first, and then we add, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this positive 7 and distribute it. That's 1 plus 21 plus 42x. And now I can combine my like terms. 1 plus 21 is 22. This would be a reasonable way to leave the answer. I personally like to put my x term first, but that's just a matter of personal preference because it's in standard form. Let's see. Yay! Okay, let's take a look at another one. I've got a couple of places I'm going to have to use my distributive property. Remember that when you distribute a negative value, that minus sign goes with what you're distributing, so to speak. So this is multiplying both of these by negative 9, and I'm going to multiply both of these by negative 4. So this will be negative 9 minus 90m. So we got negative 9 times positive 10m. It's going to be negative 90m minus 4m plus 28. Because I have negative 4 times negative 7, that's positive 28. Now I'm going to combine my m's, and then I'll combine my constants. So this will be, they're the same sign, so I'm going to add them together and keep the sign. And these are different signs, so I'm going to subtract and keep the sign of the one with the greater absolute value. So you could leave your answer like this if I haven't made a mistake. Or you could put the constant first and say 19 minus 94m. That's another acceptable way of writing the answer. I don't usually write mine that way, but it is acceptable. As long as the 94m is negative and the 19 is positive, we're good if I haven't made any mistakes. Yay! All right, let's take a look at another one. Going to distribute a couple more times, and again, our term outside the parentheses is negative, so we'll just have to watch out for that. Remember our rules for multiplying. This is negative 8n minus 32. Negative 8 times positive 4 is negative 32. I'm going to take this negative 3 and distribute it throughout this quantity. This will be negative 15 and positive 6n. So I have negative 3 times negative 2n. That minus sign in between these two terms means that this term is negative. So negative 3 times negative 2n is positive 6n. Now we combine our like terms. And I'll take my n's first. There are different signs, so I'll subtract and keep the sign of the one with the greater absolute value. And then I'll add my constant terms, and they're both negative, so they're the same sign, so I'll add them together and keep the sign. So this is either negative 2n minus 47, which is how I would write it, but you could also write it negative 47 minus 2n. Okay? And let's see if I got it right. Yay! Here's another one. We're just distributing, taking that 7 and multiplying it by both of these, and taking negative 8r. I'm taking a variable and its coefficient and distributing those. So I gotta watch out. This is 35 minus 35r. 7 times negative 5 is negative 35r. This would be negative 8r times negative 5r. That's going to be positive 40r squared. R times r is r to the second power. Okay? R times r, that's the definition, by definition of the exponents. We're multiplying r by itself twice. R times r is r squared. Negative 5 times negative 40, negative 5 times negative 8 is positive 40. Now I'm going to take negative 8r times negative 6. So that would be positive, because negative times negative is positive, 48r. 8 times r times 6, 48r. Now I'm going to combine like terms. I'm going to put my highest power of r first. That won't combine with anything. Remember, like terms are only alike. You can only combine like terms. And in order to be like terms, they have to have the same variable and the same exponent. So there are no other terms up here that have an r squared, so it won't combine with anything. These two r terms will combine. They have the same variable and the same exponent, which is an implied 1. And they're different signs, so I'm going to subtract, and that will be 13r. Now keep the sign of the one with the greater absolute value. And then this won't combine with anything because there are no other constants, so I'll just tag it on the end. It's positive. There's an implied plus sign there. Okay, so if I haven't made any mistakes, this is the correct simplification. And of course, you could write it like this. I don't usually do that. I rarely do that. But they're the same value. They're the same thing. Okay? I think we got one. Oh, let me check to make sure I haven't made a mistake. Yay! And here we go. Going to take this P and distribute it. Take this 8 and distribute it. And that's going to be positive when I distribute it. P times 3P is 3 times P times P, which is 3P squared, minus 6P. So I multiply both of these terms by P. If I multiply this by P, I get 3P squared. If I multiply this by P, I get negative 6P. And then it'll be plus a positive 8 times negative 3P will be negative 24P. And 8 times 8 is positive 64 because they're both positive. That's positive 8 and that's positive 8. Now I combine my like terms. Nothing will combine with P squared because there are no other P squared terms. These two terms right here will combine. They're the same sign, they're both negative, so I'm going to add them together and keep the sign. 24 plus 6 is 30. So there are 30 P's and you add them together and keep the sign, so it's negative 30P. And then we'll tag this on the end. It won't combine with anything either. So this is, if I haven't made a mistake, this is the simplification of this, which you could write like this. If you wanted to. 3P is positive, so you could put a plus sign in front of it. Okay. And let's see if I got that one right. Yay! Yay. Okay, that's what we're doing, just combining terms. Some of them will be quadratic, that means just the highest powers of 2. And just a little walk down memory lane. Okay. You can do this.